Hello to everyone watching. My hope with all our studying is not only for those who are married to have better marriages, but also for those who are not married to think twice about their intended spouse, to look back at everything that we will read and have read, and really consider and compare that person to what God expects, and also to honestly judge ourselves whether we are married or not. Are we what God wants us to be? If I'm not what God wants me to be, should I even form a home, an Adventist home? May you be blessed as we continue our studying, and may you find something relevant for you as we read together. Hi everyone, we're back with our Adventist Home, Chapter 3. I would say my summary is family, the first family, the first marriage, the first couple. I won't go deeply into this because I know as we study along, there'll be more of what God says about the family. So I'll just stick to what I see here because God does give specifics later on. That was my quick summary. Again, it was one of those short chapters. Short for me. Right, I'm going to then go through what I underlined. I do want to question, though, that if God was the originator of the first family, then shouldn't our whole understanding of what family is and what constitutes a couple, a married couple, be based on God's standards? Is anything else, any other kind of partnership, really a family, a marriage? Can't we just call it something different? Just something to mull about or mull on. And should any other kind of formation be granted the same respect as a marriage? A marriage instituted in the format that God instituted it in. Are they equal? Are they all the same? Do they have the same value? Chapter 1, the Eden home. God gave Adam and Eve everything that they would need. Oh, my bun is in the way. I've got big hair, sorry. Let me try to move forward. Ooh. God gave Adam and Eve everything that they would need in their home. Everything. They didn't need sheep to eat. They didn't need fancy mansions. They just needed their home. The flowers, the plants, the animal, that was all they needed. God gave them everything that they would, not even everything they would need, everything that man could desire was there. It wasn't just necessities. God also knew that, we're a human. Humans don't just need water and food. We need more. We need beauty. We need peace. We need beauty and peace surrounding us. That's what God gave them. We need music, bird song. Can you get any better than pure bird song? I don't think so. Right, third paragraph, 25.3. God gave Adam a companion. The companion came from God. Many of us, I know I did. When I was 16, I prayed. I saw how my friends were living with this boyfriend today, another boyfriend tomorrow. That boyfriend hurt me. I go to the back of the church in the toilets when it's choir practice, and this boyfriend and I do this. I didn't want that. I just wanted, like Adam and Eve, to find a husband, not a boyfriend who would break my heart, not a boyfriend whose heart I would break. That's what I really wanted. I wanted a holy marriage governed by God. I wanted to receive a husband from God. So I prayed, but I didn't say, God, please open my eyes to the right man, or please tell me if I should get married. This day and age, we don't all need to be married anyway. We can find companionship in other ways. We can have close friendships, close sisterhoods. We don't need to be married, and not everyone will be married. It doesn't mean that they're not living under God's will just because they're single or widowed. But I didn't pray to God to help me see the right person. I told him what I wanted. I want him to have strong shoulders. Well, I was 16. I want him to have broad shoulders. I want him to be strong. I want him to be able to hold me, and I want to feel safe. I want him to be godly. But at age 16, I didn't know what godly really is. And compared to what I know now, even at age 18, when I did meet that husband, I didn't know what godly means. I don't know. I have no clue. I didn't know what a true godly person is like. I myself was not a truly godly person. Isn't it a blessing that God winks at our sins in the time of ignorance, our ignorance? He says, okay, you didn't know better. You did the best you knew with the information you had. I will forgive you for totally messing up, because you did it with the right intentions. God will do that for you also. Don't ever feel too guilty, too dirty, too stupid, too dumb for the past. God will wipe that clean if you ask him to. So I gave him a list of things I want, but I never actually said, I will wait, God. I will wait for you to present him to me. That actually would fail. Sadly, we've gone so far from God that he doesn't speak to us like he did with the prophets. I wish he did. I wish he did, but our own sins have caused a separation between us and God. So, back to me. I, the wife, was meant to be a helper corresponding to him, a helpmeet for him, someone suitable to be his helper. Eve was created from a rib taken from the side of Adam, signifying that she was not to control him as the head. Symbolic. I am not to browbeat my husband into listening to me, doing what I want, going along with all my foibles. That's not what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to help him, not lead him. What I've noticed is the cause of many arguments, in my family at least, amongst my parents, between my parents. The argument was because both wanted to be the head. No one wanted to sit down and say, all right, this is not actually even important. This will not at all impact my real happiness. The Bible says godliness with contentment is great gain. I think Paul said that. And not many of us are willing to settle for contentment. That is the peace of knowing you are walking with God plus godliness. If we are godly and content, that is happiness. That's all we need. We don't need to we don't need to win every argument. That's not godliness. But that's the arguing I saw. It was everybody wanting to do their own thing. And the wife also wanted to be the head of the husband. And sadly, in most families, the arguments are not because the wife wants to help the husband to be godlier, to be closer to God's image. That's sadly sad in the Christian viewpoint. It's sad that the arguments aren't because the wife is saying, husband, I really wish you would have been kinder to old man Bob instead of snubbing him, something like that. Or, that's not what we argue about. We don't say, oh, really, John, you only gave him 10 rand. Couldn't you have given him 20? You saw how down and out he is. He's been struggling. His business isn't working. That's not what most women fight about or argue over. It's not really, it's the Sabbath, honey. Please, can you put your work laptop away? That's not it. We're not helping our husbands. We're not helping them to go upwards. So then just stop. Just not be the head. Difficult, but it is what God requires. And that is again why I asked in the beginning, if God is the originator of marriage, family, then surely we should then follow his format for the family. And that means women do submit when they're not asked to go against principle. So Eve was not meant to be his head. He's still the one, the final decision maker. But she's helping him to make good decisions. So he, Adam, is meant to listen to her suggestions, her ideas, her doubts, her thoughts. He is meant to take on the suggestions she makes that are helpful. And also it said, I continue, the evils created from a rib, right? It says, nor to be trampled under his feet as an inferior. That is the reason I said helper. A wife is not there to be your slave. A wife is not there to be your servant. A wife is there to be a help. Help me. Can you help me carry this table? We carry it together. You don't carry it alone. That's not help. That's serving me. That's being my servant. Wives were not created to be servants, but helpers. Men are meant to work together. They're meant to ask the wife, help me, work with me. She is to stand by his side as an equal. Equal. Not a junior, a fellow colleague. You know, like when you have groups, when you had made groups in school, there was always someone who inevitably became the leader, the one who said, okay, it was more organized. We weren't all equal voices. That is how it's meant to be. We're a team. We're not a superior and an inferior. We're not a boss and an employee. To be loved and protected by him. Protection, friends, is not only physical. It's not only making sure that the thieves don't harm her. It's not only making sure she's got a roof over her head, but protection means protect her heart. Keep her from harm. Don't hurt her, and make sure others don't hurt her. That's being protective. Keeping her from emotional, mental, psychological harm is just as important as keeping her from physical harm. Here I want to mention the cultural practice of ukuhota, where the daughter-in-law has to go and be a servant to the family for a certain number of weeks. That's really what it is. She has to go and be a servant to the husband's family. I've seen cases where a girl has grown up in a cityfied life. She's never carried water, and then she's now expected to go to the river and go carry water. And then she tries like everyone else, and then she put it on her head, the bucket of water. And unfortunately, it spilt on her. And what did the young girls of the family do? They laughed at her. My grandfather was different. He would carry the water with my grandmother. Even into their old age, they both went to the river and they both carried water. And it really stood out that he is loving and helping her. Please, men, don't make you turn your wives into slaves for your family. They are your partner, your equal. Help them and make sure if they ever get mocked or if they are criticized for the food they made, that you stand up for her. That is part of protecting her. A part of man, bone of his bone, and flesh of his flesh, she was his second self, showing the close union and the affectionate attachment that should exist in this relation. Close union, affectionate attachment. Close. When I see Mr. Dube, I should also in my head immediately also see Mrs. Dube. They are one. When I see Mr. whoever, Ndlovu, I also must see Mrs. Ndlovu. They are one. Mrs. Ndlovu is as much a part of the family as he is. She is Mr. Ndlovu. She is his second self. They're not individuals, they are one. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one. There are no secrets. That's the other thing. If we have secret relationships, something's gone wrong. If I'm having secret conversations with men that my husband knows nothing about, or even women, we're not one anymore. We are now separate beings who just live in the same room, in the same house. If he's got women that he doesn't tell me about, who he talks to, and that's all they talk about themselves, there's something very wrong. We are one. That girl is meant to see us as a partnership, So if she's not asking how's her family, if she doesn't have his family at heart, she shouldn't even be there. In fact, I think we'll come in this book to that whole situation anyway, where opposite people of the opposite sex, shouldn't be close anyway. There are 3 people, 2 men I'm close to. One is like a spiritual brother. Yes, people do that, but he really is. Plus he's younger than me. And also my husband knows him, and my husband talks to him. They communicate. There will never be anything improper because we're one. We're one with him, if that makes sense. So when he's talking to me, he's talking to my husband. If he's talking about me, he's talking about my husband. He wants the best for us, and I want the best for him and his wife. That's the other difference. So yes, we do communicate, not much. We never talk. We never say, oh, I love you. We never say, I'm so looking forward to seeing you. It's not that. It is a truly scriptural relationship with someone who's also in a relationship with my husband, and my husband would be able to read everything I've said, whether it's good or bad, negative, positive, because it's true. What I've said is true. And it's stuff I've said to my husband as well. So, yeah, okay. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one. One. When I say Mr. Ndlovu, I immediately think of Mrs. Ndlovu. If he's alone, I will wonder, oh, where is she? Why aren't they together? That is the union God wanted for us. 25.4, marriage is honorable. It was one of the first gifts of God to man. If God gives you a gift, you will love it. When God has given you that gift, it is a beautiful gift. Anything else that comes to you that is not godly and godlike is not from God. People love to say, oh, God gave me a wonderful husband. I'm 100% sure. God did not come down from heaven and say, Lisa, take this man. He's the one for you. Our heart tells us that he's the one from God. Our own carnal nature says, she's the one who's right for me. God gave her to me. Most of the time in these days of 2024, it's not the case. I see it when we are studying. Most of the time it actually comes out before marriage. That's when you realize these people are not actually aligned. They don't think the same. They're not one. And they don't seem like they will ever become one. God's gift will help you grow. It won't be a source of pain. It won't be a cause of constant argument. You'll be pulling together in the right direction, and it will be a blessing. A gift from God is a blessing. If it blesses you, there's more chance that it comes from God than not. It is one of the 2 institutions that after the fall, Adam brought with him beyond the gates of paradise. When the divine principles are recognized and obeyed in this relation, marriage is a blessing. It guards the purity and happiness of the race. It provides for man's social needs. It elevates the physical, the intellectual, and the moral nature. When, not if, when the divine principles are recognized and obeyed. There are many divine principles. The Bible is full of principle. So is the spirit of prophecy. If we obey, when we obey, all of those principles, from familiarity to reserve, to happiness, to how to keep the Sabbath, if we all, both of us, obey those, if we're both humble, if we're both kind, if we are both temperate in what we do, never overdoing one thing, not sacrificing family for the sake of money or selfish enjoyment, then God will be with us and it will be a blessing. When it's like that, the whole world will be pure and happy. A true marriage provides for man's social needs. If you come up telling me, my husband doesn't hug me, he doesn't love me, he's not affectionate, then there's a problem. A truly happy marriage will come with affection. You will feel like you are in a good relationship. You've got your social needs met. You talk together, you share your thoughts, you share your opinions, you share what you've read with each other. And you're healthy in every sense. Mental health comes with physical health, and your intellect and your morals will be ennobled if you are truly with God. Goodbye for now. Hi everyone, this is going to be take 2 of the last part of our chapter 3. Whew, yeah. 26.4. In all things their will was conformed to the will of God, and God's character was reflected in the character of Adam. His glory was revealed in every object of nature. In all things, not some things, not a few things, not most, all things. Those two humans were conformed to the will of God. Let that sink into you. Are you? Are you really conformed in all things to the will of God? True happiness only comes from conformity to the will of God. Unfortunately, for many of us, we are not reading so that we find out what the will of God is. Please, let's open our Bibles, search us for hidden treasures, see, ask God, search my heart, please take out and just to see, examine me. Is there any wicked way within me? Get rid of it, change my heart, help me and help me desire to read your word, every word. We can study multiple books at once. My friend and I are studying many books, not just the Bible. We study different books of the Spirit of Prophecy. Please read as much as you can. Time is short, and everything we do, it has an impact on our salvation and on the happiness of others. It is worth it. It is necessary for us to read. Then we will know what to conform to, and we will know what God's will is, and God will help us. God's character was revealed in the character of Adam, and in nature too. His glory was seen in nature. Do you remember when Moses asked God, please show me your glory? And what did he pronounce? His mercy, his goodness, long suffering. That was God. And all his beauty was shown in nature, in the things he had created. And Adam was the embodiment of who God was. Just like Joseph, just like Daniel. That means we too can be the embodiment of who God is if we allow him to. Yeah, if we allow him to fill us with his spirit. That means, I had a note there, and that means they obeyed God. And in obeying God, they brought greater happiness to each other. As we continue studying this book, we will see what it really means to bring happiness to each other. When you obey God, you will bring happiness to each other because you'll be listening, caring about the other. There is no other option but to bring happiness. And what was God's nature? What do we see in nature? Beauty and purpose. Spinach, fruit. There's purpose. They feed us, but there's beauty. The blossoms, the trees, the flowers, the blooming. It was beauty, and it was beautiful in formation, beautiful to look at, good to eat, and pleasant to all the senses. Touch, no thorns. Sight, those beautiful birds with their plumage color everywhere, sound, hearing. You could just hear the birds singing, the elephants, the rhinos. Everything in nature touched every part of our senses, of Adam's senses. Sight, smell, seeing, taste the fruit. And he heard God in every bird call. It was the design of God, this is 27.1, that man should find happiness in the employment of tending the things he had created, and that his wants should be met with the fruit of the trees of the garden. Happiness in employment, wants met by the fruit. He worked and he received. He worked and he received. And that goes on to the next paragraph also. To Adam was given the work of caring for the garden. The Creator knew that Adam could not be happy without employment. The beauty of the garden delighted him, but this was not enough. He must have labor to call into exercise the wonderful organs of the body. Had happiness consisted in doing nothing, man in his state of holy innocence would have been left unemployed. Adam had to work. It's not work like the work we know now, but he definitely was never idle, ever. I had a note here about people. There are people who, there are the people who do nothings, thrive on being lazy, on being entitled, on their work, but they don't feed from their own work. Adam worked and he ate from the fruits of his labor. There are some people who are entitled and they will eat from the fruits of your labor, but the true man, the true woman wants to work. I've seen it myself with my body letting me down. I want to work. I see it in the people trapped in bodies that no longer want to move. Read the books by people who have MND, motor neuron disease. How many of them just wish they could help? How many fathers wish they could help around the house, help with the children, help with the house chores? Can't. A true person will want to use his hands, and that is employment. I often think when people say, do you work? It's wrong. Everyone works. Adam was employed. He didn't earn the money, but he was employed. Anybody who does something for life, who does something, contributes in some way physically, with his mind, if he's a thinker, whatever you do, if you are doing it, you are employed. Unfortunately, not gainfully employed, not a money maker, but if you are working in your home, if you are tending your garden, if you are tending your next door neighbor's garden, you have found employment. You are doing something. You are someone. That's another thing I want to shift also. Going back to the other chapter 2, by doing, you are somebody. By using what God has given you, the faculties God has given you, you are showing that you are somebody. You don't need to be super intelligent to be somebody. Just do what you can do. Use your hands, use your feet, use your mouth. Look at the people who paint when their limbs have been eaten up by whatever bug they had. Back to this. Okay. 27.3. Fathers and mothers who make God first in their households, who teach their children that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, glorify God before angels and before men by presenting to the world a well-ordered, well-disciplined family, a family that love and obey God instead of rebelling against him. Christ is not a stranger in their homes. So parents, let's bring Christ. Let's make Christ first in our children's homes. There's something just so satisfying if you're a true Christian, when your children then expose you expose your teachings. I love it. I really am grateful to for the foundation I gave my children. Whether it will last or not, whether they will remember that foundation, only God knows. Thunder and
rain.
Wow, do you remember how
Higher.
what went higher?
The water.
Oh boy. We glorify God before angels. Too many times we fear humans and we don't pay attention to the fact that God is seeing us anyway. The angels are ever watching us. You'll see it in the person who has bought something they know they shouldn't buy. If they see me, or if they're dressed in a way they know they shouldn't dress in, they see me and they scurry away, hoping I haven't caught a glimpse of them. I am just a human. God, their creator, God our Father, He saw us before we stepped out that house. He saw us when we were choosing whatever we were choosing from the fridge. Please let us not fear man. Let us fear God. Let us honor God. It's not about the other person. If you know that what that person is teaching is right, it's not about them. It's about God, the God they represent. Please, let's get out of this mindset of what will so and so say. Ask yourself, what is God saying now, families? The presence of Christ alone can make men and women happy. Oh, I wanted to go there. First, let me go back to 26.2. Thou art all fair, my love, there is no spot in thee. Christ was a romantic. God was a romantic. And all his romantic words he kept for his bride and nobody else. Flirting, that's not right. It's not godly. It's not holy. It's not pure. Get out of it. If you're flirting now, stop. There's nothing like harmless flirting. As a man thinketh, so is he. God was romantic and he kept his romance for his bride. God never stopped being romantic. He wants to joy over us with singing. He wants to hold us. We are his bride. He's waiting to marry us. So every single day, we are his bride. The Song of Solomon, though the language is archaic, it is full of romance. I beg people, please don't stop the romance. Keep it going. Believe me, you lose nothing by being kind, romantic, and affectionate to your spouse. Some people, they don't want it, they don't desire it. Like my husband, I'll compliment something, I don't know, his eyes, and he's like, they're just eyes. I'll compliment a smile. What do you want me to say to you when I compliment him? A normal thank you would do. But so there are people like that who unfortunately don't know how to accept compliments from their spouses. And it's sad because they don't know how to accept them, too many don't know how to then give them. Please learn from your beloved. Am I doing okay in this respect? Do you feel? God, yes, is about principle and love is a principle, but this feeling, do you feel loved? Do you feel like you're the only one who matters in my life? Those are the questions we should ask our spouses. Am I showing you how much you matter? Or did I catch you and then whatever, now you're caught, you're trapped, so I'm not gonna give you the best of me. God is a hopeless romantic. We should be too. Obviously in a way that the other enjoys or approves of. Get to know your beloved. Get to know what is romantic to them. And then listen to them and do it. God will not be displeased and your spouse will definitely be pleased. So yes, now I go back to the end. The last paragraph. The presence of Christ alone can make men and women happy. All the common waters of life, Christ can turn into the wine of heaven. The home then becomes as an Eden of bliss. The family, a beautiful symbol of the family in heaven. That is what I've always desired. I wanted a heavenly family where everyone is kind, laughter, and true affection, and hugs and kindness. That is my idea of heaven. And with Christ, that is possible, because Christ tells you, listen to your beloved, because you are one. You are one. So what makes her happy will make you happy. What makes him happy will make you happy too. That is Christ, selflessness. Christ is selflessness. And so when we are kind and we have learnt to be like Christ, we will then be like Christ to our beloved. The ordinance of foot washing. Jesus was their creator, but he took off his robe and he washed the feet of the people who were his creatures. That is true love. He was their maker, he was their creator, he was their king. He could have said, you do it. But because God is love, true love and humility, he did it himself. May we ever remember that, to be true love and humility, to serve rather than to desire to be served. May we give and be happy to give, of course knowing what the other will enjoy receiving. And I hope you'll have a blessed week ahead as we go forward to chapter 4. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have some ability to work, to have some form of employment around the house, to mother. And I pray with all my heart that God will double and triple the efforts I make, that God will hear my prayers for my children, and that one day they will seek him with all their heart, willingly, knowingly, submissively. Then I will really know that I've created a well-ordered, well-disciplined family. May God bless you too.